Hello, my name is Cecilia McGough, and I'm the CEO of Students With Schizophrenia, a nonprofit focused on empowering college students who have schizophrenia and their families. I was studying astrophysics at Penn State University. However, I've switched my focus to being focused on founding Students with Schizophrenia, a nonprofit, and that's sort of now become my passion because when I first looked for resources for a student who has schizophrenia, I was actually shocked because there was no other organization in the entire world specifically focused on empowering college students who have schizophrenia. And that just was mind-boggling to me because there's 51 million people in the world who have schizophrenia, 1.1% of the world's population over the age of 18. And with the peak age to have a schizophrenic break being the same age range as a typical college student, and there's no organization to help those college students, and I really could not forget about that number and forget about those people, and I needed to do something about it. The first steps with students with schizophrenia was to focus on where are the gaps that we need to fill. So we aren't taking the place of doctors, therapists, lawyers for like legal advising or anything like that. We're more focused on empowering the college student. We want to make sure we are in the universities, having the outreach there, making college clubs, having those support networks, but also making sure that they do well in school and are able to stay in school with future services such as financial, academic, and career. I want to more address talking about the stigma. Of course, helping learning more about how the brain works. That's important. It helps the person understand its chemical imbalance in their head, or at least with schizophrenia and like the hallucinations. But it's also important to address the statistics and the stigma head on and making sure people understand that someone who has schizophrenia is more likely to be an abuse victim rather than an abuser. I feel like there's just this fear surrounding especially people who have schizophrenia. People need to be more educated about it. When I started hallucinating things at home and I had childhood schizophrenia where I first started seeing shadowy figures. My hallucinations got worse as I got older. I started hearing things that weren't there, like a staticky whisper, and became very vivid to where I started hallucinating the clown from the older adaptation of Stephen King's It, the girl that resembles like the girl from The Ring and giant spiders. So I would be actually too scared to sleep in my bedroom alone. That's definitely red flags. I wish instead of my parents being like, this needs, we can't tell people about this, that should be, we need to go talk to a doctor. I try to live my life without regrets because I really feel like I'm the person I am because of my decisions. If I did have a regret, especially with schizophrenia, it would be not getting treatment sooner. But because my family wouldn't let me get treatment, and I don't want me to villainize them so much. Part of it was because of love for me. They honestly didn't think I would have much of a future if I became open about my schizophrenia. But my regret is that I didn't get that treatment earlier because early intervention is key for someone who has schizophrenia. Even to this day, I still hallucinate 24/7. Of course, when things get bad, sometimes I wonder, if I just got the treatment earlier, maybe I wouldn't have to deal with that. My advice to family members and loved ones of someone who has schizophrenia is to still treat them as a person. It's so important for family members and friends because they're often the first people that even learn that person has schizophrenia. So it's so important to how that person first responds. And also not to focus too much on the symptoms. It's important to focus more on the individual, how these symptoms impacts them as an individual. If they're scared, if they're anxious about things. Sometimes people say, oh, they're a different person after their illness or something like that. Maybe some of their symptoms getting away, like there's a little bit of a shield there, but still love them and make sure you're there to listen to them. I have the best family of friends. They're definitely my support network, and I very much rely on them. Having a strong support network is essential, but other coping skills that I've had is especially listening to music. That's something that's very common to people who have schizophrenia and they're dealing with audio hallucinations. It helps sort of drown out those audio hallucinations. My message to someone who is debating whether or not they want to become open about their schizophrenia. First off, I want to say it's a very personal decision. I understand I'm very privileged. I was at an amazing university that very much supported me, and that I live in a country that, even though there's a lot of stigma surrounding mental illness, there are some places in the developing world that it's actually dangerous to open up about your mental illness. It could be easy for me to say, oh, you should just be open about schizophrenia and embrace it. But I understand that it's a legitimate fear for someone in certain situations. It's not something to take lightly, but I do encourage more people to speak up about schizophrenia and to be open about their schizophrenia, because we need more people to put a positive face to schizophrenia so it becomes less scary and so that more and more people can open up. My name is Cecilia McGough. I have schizophrenia, and I am not a monster.